for the Shop Report with
Barbershop Jay.
What up, sports fans? Welcome to the Shop Report special presentation of the Turnbuckle. I, of course, am your host, none other than Double J Production J, Creative Control J. And that is not D. Gully from the CO Lumbus. That is a much better co-host, which is, of course, none other than we'll go with Barbershop Jay's better protege.
Sure.
And well, with that being said, welcome, of course.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome home at this point.
Yeah.
I'm ecstatic that you're here. I mean, it's been too long.
I know.
I think it's this feels very WWE-esque. That like your return now, right before all the PLEs and such. So without kind of further ado, we're going to go and dive into this evening's Raw, and naturally there's a ton to kind of dissect, and I couldn't think of a better person to have on with me. And so right away, we have these two characters here, which of course is Dom and Liv, who is your women's champion. And what I wanted to ask you first was, because we haven't had the pleasure of having you on, how did you feel about, because I was getting kind of notifications, so just kind of full transparency, that you saw this type of, I don't even know if I would call it a heel turn. It was just you, but you predicted that this was the direction things were going to go. So walk me kind of through that, what you were seeing and how that was so accurate.
So basically leading up to SummerSlam, I was seeing like rumors speculating that Dom was planning on turning on Rhea, and I figured that it would happen. I didn't really know where else it could go, besides him turning on her or Liv retaining or Rhea winning. I didn't see like any other way that could go. So I did kind of figure that could happen. I just wasn't, I wasn't sure if it would. But when I did see it happen at SummerSlam, I was actually like really happy. No, that might sound crazy, but I was happy that it happened, because I think that the feud between Rhea and Liv and just the whole new Judgment Day or whatnot, I think that they can tap into so much more, just as like being heels and, Rhea possibly being a babyface now. I think it's a cool idea. I thought it was cool that it happened. So.
Well, we're going to tap in a little bit more with that. And Two Stars asking, what's the topics for today? And today is all about what has taken place on this evening's Raw that just concluded. And of course, we have the Berlin PLE that is just around the corner as well. But of course, with Yaz here, we are picking her brain because we haven't had the pleasure of her since Mania. So, and that really is kind of surreal about how long it actually has been. But with these guys in particular this evening, I'm going to quote here. Dom said, "I am a man and deserve to be treated like one. Grown man calling you mommy. Now I got a girl who calls me daddy."
Oh.
You said it's perfect, right? You said these two are perfect.
Yeah.
And that this whole thing is perfect. Because Rhea, of course, has told Liv that she's glad she's such a loudmouth and couldn't help herself from interrupting her, which ultimately leads to this. So what say you about kind of as this how much longer can this type of like can we see this feud evolving um with these characters beyond just this immediate sense of because again they have a history right between
Mhm.
Rhea and Liv and certainly
Mhm.
everyone else that's in this picture for that matter. But I wanted to get your thoughts on where do you see the direction of this going now that we've reached this kind of pinnacle and the turn has actually been taken. Do you see this staying in the long term, or is this a short term thing?
I definitely think this is a long-term thing, especially now, like I touched on earlier, how this is sort of a new Judgment Day. So I think that this is long term now that, Liv is in it. And Dom was already healed, but he tapped into his heel character more. Um, and I think just altogether, I think that this could be a long term thing, just so like the older Judgment Day, since they were taking over for quite some time, I think that the new Judgment Day could possibly be doing the same thing.
And that's actually a fantastic point. So we did have a match which was Priest versus Carlito, and ultimately it was Priest, of course, who was victorious there. But that led to a post-match Judgment Day attack. But then Rhea comes out to his aid, and they retreated. But of course, JD is left behind. Um, and so my question to you is this: we get this group here, and as you see, this is going to go into Berlin and some. We had a face for Priest for a while, and that got him a belt, and it seemed like the fans were starting to kind of go back to him and a little bit better than it was when he was a heel. Now I'm kind of on the fence with where he is in his own kind of development because this isn't Gully's been adamant that the Judgment Day needed to kind of change
Mm-hmm.
and so we get to this part, but here he is, no title, and finds himself in the feud. Is this better for him in the long run?
I don't know if I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I don't know if better would be the right word because we all know that Damian Priest has so much potential as we've seen before in the past. Him with, him having the title and whatnot. We all know what Damian Priest is capable of. So I don't know, like I said, I don't know if better would be the right word, but I think it fits him now. I would say I think it fits him now and for him to, just to tap into his character more, and to not disrupt anything that's like happening now or like jump into anything that probably wouldn't fit him at the moment. I think his character, like where it's at now, I think it's pretty good.
Absolutely. No, and I agree. I'm really kind of in I like what's happening. I was concerned about the destruction, if you will, of Judgment Day, but you're absolutely right. There, I've spoken about. I don't know. I've had mixed feelings. Honestly been on the fence. He's had a title and not a mid card, as Gully would call it,
Mm-hmm.
and yet we needed to see his character evolve. And with Rhea, similarly, she's kind of reached a pinnacle. And again, even despite the absence, which again was for personal reasons, of course, um, I'm intrigued to see where it goes. But I do believe in the new group, and I think this is ultimately best for each of them.
Mm-hmm.
Leading into a match that was uh, announced for the evening was a Texas Tornado tag team. However, Did someone fall asleep at the wheel here? Like, I mean, I know I'm tired, but where is spell check's your friend? Do you think this was just to keep us on our toes?
I think it
I
might have
honestly,
been. I don't know. I really don't know where that was going, but I don't know.
I can't recall that type of mistake. Where not maybe one, right? Where it's like, oh, okay, they flip flopped a letter.
Right.
Not two. I mean, someone was like dyslexic.
Oh.
Well, I think we know who that is.
Yeah.
Right. This is the actual host of the show, meaning
Yep.
you.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. This was. Oh boy.
I don't. Okay. I'm not. I'm gonna ignore that comment, but okay, sure.
So going right into the next subject here, which is, of course, Bo Dallas, another tape, VHS, if you will, with footage was released. He says the Riot Six had their debut where it all began, and that he was there. Bo says that something big is happening, but the work is not done. Bo then sees a message from a nearby television. A voice says, "The work must continue." And Bo Dallas says, "My life for you," repeatedly. The voice says, "There you are." And the footage ends. Now, as you can see here, clearly the homage continues, but we have not had the pleasure of getting your thoughts on this entire group, right? It was rumored
Mm-hmm.
back then, but now it is not only a real thing, they've now just had their debut. So
Right.
what say you with this, with their debut, B, where this direction continues to head with these guys?
Um, Altogether, I thought their debut was really cool. Um, and I liked it a lot. I liked seeing them debut. I thought it was a nice thing. And as far as them in the future and where they're headed now, I think that they will continue to live up to what Bray Wyatt has done. And I think that they're also gonna continue to, pay his respects and whatnot. I think that they're always going to live up to his name or whatnot. So I think it could be a really good thing in the future going forward.
It's interesting because we've talked about kind of a combination of when the buildup was occurring, and would some of these guys be green? Like, would this buildup be so feels as impactful as it was that they were almost going to fall short no matter what they did? And of course, that really hasn't necessarily been the case. I think where you get those two schools of thought, and especially as it pertains to fans, and they say, how much longer can this go? And so I'm going to actually challenge you on that, because I don't disagree with you. I think they've done a fantastic job of kind of identifying the different personality
Hmm.
characteristics that Bray Wyatt kind of that was kind of a summary, or of what he had. And individually, though, I have acknowledged this on more than once that I do worry that they can't live up to it on an individual level. Do you see that any differently?
I'm not sure if I see it differently, but I don't think that they're going to try to, let's say, I don't think that they're going to try to recreate a new Wyatt family or anything. I think that what they're going to do, I think that with the Wyatt Six, I think that they're going to tap into what could have been with the Wyatt family. Since now Bray is now passed away, I think that they're going to tap into what possibly could have happened in the future and where the Wyatt family could have gone. So I think it's a good thing that, the Wyatt Six are now a thing. I like it.
Absolutely. And so, with that being said, we've actually reached our first time out, and so we will be returning right after this.
SK Cunningham, you watching the Shop Report. I'm Homie Diallo, and you watching the Shop Report. My name's Chris Murray, and you're watching the Shop Report. Oh, you're Jay Knight, you're watching the Shop Report. Max McKee, you're dropping in on the Shop Report.
Barbershop Jay, Quentin Hines, Super Bowl champion. I'm ready. Let's do it. I'm on.
Hi, I'm Mars Edwards from Mercury Stadium, and you're watching the Shock Report.
Hey, I'm Billy Butler, and thank you for watching the Shop Report. Hey guys, I'm Les Norman, former Kansas City Royal, and you're watching the Shop Report.
Commander Brown, Detroit Rivers Mountain Training, and I'm watching the Shop Report.
Hey, this is Doug Flynn of the New York Mets. Well, a few other teams, of course, too. And you're watching the Shop Report.
I'm Matt Ramos, and you're watching the Shop Report.
How you doing? I'm Rajay Davis, and you're watching the Shop Report.
How you doing? This is Nelson Figueroa, former Major League pitcher with a lot of teams. You're about to listen to the Shop Report.
Hey, this is Howard Johnson. You're watching the Shop Report.
All right, just like that, we are back. It looks like we have a comment rolling in. All right, for you, I will play that for you now so you can share that with them. See if we can grab that for you. There it is.
What it do, sports fans? It's your man BSJ from the Shop Report. And guess what? The shop is now open for business, baby. If you're on Facebook, go to our fan page, The Shop Report, click on More, and then Shop to view all products. Or if you're on Instagram, click on the Shop tab to see all our products. I mean, what you want me to do? I'm selling merch here.
All right, and just like that, again, we are back. So for the hopefully that step-by-step was good enough for you. Hopefully here soon we'll end up having that on the other platforms as well. But of course, you, the fans, can always help with that. And so, moving right along with this evening's Raw, we had Odyssey Jones defeating Vincent Winey in a quick kind of, a speed match, basically. However, post-match, the Final Testament confronts the New Day yet again. And Karrion Kross says that Kofi Kingston is using Odyssey Jones to replace Xavier Woods. What say you to that?
Well, in my opinion, I don't think that Xavier Woods can be replaced. And I say that because not even him with the New Day. I think that just him in general, even as like a singles competitor, whatever you want to say, just him as a character in WWE, like for so long, and his time with the New Day, that can't be just replaced just like that. Probably he could, join the New Day or whatnot. But as far as being replaced, I don't think that's going to happen.
Strangely, do you think a heel turn is coming? And then if so, for who out of that group?
Ooh. In my opinion, I don't think a heel turn is coming, but if a heel turn was to happen, I think it would be cool to see Kofi turn heel. I think that would be really cool. I don't know. I think that just him being a heel or whatnot, I think I could see that. Besides Xavier, I think I could see Kofi doing that more.
That would be interesting, actually. I'm not even sure. I think it's a little bit more inevitable. I've just seen them kind of going down this road ever since. I think there was a Raw with like an ice cream truck comes to mind. I think the Miz and R-Truth were involved in that, and it just seemed like it's been slowly getting kind of that them to conform. But at the same time, this edition, this new version of the New Day seems very much like the old day, with Big E Langston. and obviously they were able to achieve a ton as a collective. So if it happens, I'm here for it. If it doesn't, and this is the group that once competed for tag team titles and held them, I'm here
Right.
for that too.
Same.
And I know I brought this up a little earlier with the botch of spell check, but on the way to the match for the Alpha Academy versus what are they called? The American Dream, American Made,
Yeah,
something like
American
that.
made.
I knew. Oba confronts Otis, and they will be actually facing off tomorrow for the NXT North American Championship. I wanted to get your thoughts, not just on this and who you got, but more importantly, we haven't been able to kind of talk to you about this kind of intermingling of the brands. And with having some, NXT, sure, at its core, still about rising stars, but now you're seeing TNA folks, you're seeing, Raw rostered individuals taking part in it. How do you feel? Just kind of walk us through how you feel about all of that. I know that's a lot to break down there.
Well, I think it's cool for all the brands to, kind of touch base with each other. I think it's cool to see other talent from, other brands or whatnot. Um, and as far as the match goes, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it could go either way, but I'm kind of leaning towards Otis. And I'm saying that because I've seen everything that he's like been through and everything that he's been doing recently. He kind of broke it off with the Alpha Academy or whatnot. He was kind of going on like his own direction or what he was going his own direction. So I think just for him to build up his character and to see how much potential he has, I think that would be really cool for him if he had the win.
And no argument here. And honestly, I'm just not sure which direction they want to go. Every point you made is absolutely spot on, and very well could be the case. How do you feel about, though? I know you picked him to win, but do you look at him as better off as a singles competitor alone, or does he need the Alpha Academy?
In my opinion, I really don't think he needs the Alpha Academy because to me, it seemed like he was always in Chad Gable's shadow. And, I feel like he has the opportunity to stand out on his own. And I think that he has a lot of potential to be a singles competitor. So I really didn't think he needed the Alpha Academy.
Yeah, and that'll be interesting to see. This would be obviously a big step in that actually occurring. Speaking of getting out of the shadow, unfortunately, they found themselves square in it this evening. And that, of course, Ivy turning on Maxine. And in that tornado tag match, American Made defeats the Alpha Academy. Does any of that surprise you, or was this necessary?
In my opinion, I'm not sure if it was necessary, but at the same time, I'm really not surprised because, Ivy is just, to me, she's been a star since forever ago. So I feel like she could, wherever she's going as of now, I feel like she could be really good with wherever she's headed. And like I was saying with the whole Alpha Academy thing, and with Otis, he could be a good singles competitor, but as far as this is going, I think it's actually a good thing, and I would like to see where everything else goes on from now on.
I love every bit of what you said. I couldn't agree more. And with that being said, I'm going to ask you this, though, because I don't agree with this. Damage Control versus the pure Fusion Collective. That sounds like it's a collection of jams and jellies. Where does that rank amongst the worst names? Like, did Triple H fall asleep at the wheel? Like, what
You
is
know,
happening?
to be honest, I don't know what's happening. I think as a team they could be good, but as far as the name or whatnot, I feel like it was just thrown together. I don't know. I feel like it might have been like a last minute thing or something just to get them ready for whatever they have going on. I have no clue.
Look, it's the Shop Report after dark. That sounds to me like something. I know there's some legal things out this way. It sounds like the name one of those. It it sounds like an energy drink.
Yeah.
It does not sound like tag team champions.
No.
Is what it doesn't sound like. And I just am blown away that I would feel terrible. Like, okay, this is really what we're doing. Like, okay, well, our shelf life is going to be, done in 3,
Right.
2, 1. Like,
Mhm.
it's really bad. So I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on that. And of course, I wonder who you think won this thing.
Well,
I'll answer it for you.
No.
In only a way that damage control and a organic juice could. A double disqualification. No one won.
Oh, well, I mean, I seen those two, but I thought this was after someone had already won the match, so I didn't know. But I mean, that doesn't surprise me at all.
Yes, and I'm glad it didn't surprise you. Speaking of surprises, R-Truth says to The Miz that he got him in a match against Braun Breaker for the Intercontinental title. Instead, it's against Bronson Reed. Surprise. Do you what do you do with those two?
To
I got
me,
nothing.
like, I really don't either. But to me, I think they're a really funny group. I like them a lot, but I don't know where their direction is headed. To me, I don't know what's in store for them. But as far as them now, I think they're a good duo. So I mean, I don't really know what else to say for that. So I don't.
And look, all is fair in this. And speaking of, we had a few things, of course, we getting to that match. But matter of fact, before we do, there was a few things that occurred. Of course, talking about the upcoming PLE, which is in Berlin. Gunther and the legend killer Randy Orton himself. And something that I want to point out that was said, because Gunther's usually very good at this. Randy kind of points out that he's got a smoke show of a wife back. Great. But it's followed up by Gunther saying, your grandfather was a screw up, your father was a screw up, and you, Randy, are the biggest screw up of them all. And he's talking about the 20th anniversary of his first world championship win at SummerSlam 04, when he's interrupted then by Gunther, who tells Orton that he's great, but he could have been even better. And Randy thinks he's done well for himself. However, Gunther continues to call him a screw up and again take the personal shots at the family. Orton says he's going to fight Gunther when Drew McIntyre comes out. But Gunther, of course, is distracted, and then he gets RKO'd. only Gunther, I feel like, is capable of making it that personal. I feel like you've seen a little taste of this with Drew McIntyre and CM Punk, but not to that length. What say you about this particular feud here? Gully and I have talked about, Randy wants to have one more run, but Gunther, of course, it has been clearly, since we've even talked, right, about that was where the push really was starting.
Right.
And he is not green at all and is more than capable. So we found ourselves in a corner, nearly sobbing, because we couldn't figure out how to accommodate all of these guys, all these great talents. And so my question to you is, on top of all of that, is who do you have coming out of it? And if Gunther retains, how do you find a way for Randy to get one more run?
Well, I'm not sure. As far as Randy having one more run, I'm not sure where that could happen if he does retain. But I seen a comment a while ago about Gunther that said I think it said for about 70% of his career he was a champion, and someone else said that a title just fits him. That's just how it is with him. So
wow,
me personally, I definitely agree. I don't think that he would lose this, but at the same time, I don't think it would be a bad thing, because at the end of the day, we all know that Randy is a very great wrestler. So everything that he's accomplished in his career, it would be very cool to see him as a champion, and for him to have one more run. But on top of all of that, I don't think that Gunther's gonna lose. I don't know.
I am as flustered about this still as time has gone on, because I don't know if I can take it from. I think that's a fantastic stat, first of all, that you pointed out about him, how long he's been a champion, at least as far as his career goes. I would have to throw it out to the, kind of the digital universe and ask who else in that same scope of time pulled that off, because that's almost unheard of.
I know, right? I'm not sure. Do you have anybody in mind that you can think of?
Because of how early in his career that he is, I'm not actually sure.
Same here. I really can't think of anybody.
That's really the caveat that throws it off, is that most people, when they're, again, coming up, they're either green or they find themselves kind of paying their dues.
Right.
But, something prohibits them beyond that 30% margin of time that we have to work with in this example. So I'm going to actually chew on that a little bit. However, with that being said, we're going to take yet another commercial break. This, of course, is from one of our sponsors, and we will be back in just a second.
What it do, sports fans? It's your man BSJ from the Shop Report. And guess what? The shop is now open for business, baby. If you're on Facebook, go to our fan page, The Shop Report, click on More, and then Shop to view all products. Or if you're on Instagram, click on the Shop tab to see all our products. I mean, what you want me to do? I'm selling merch here.
All right, and just like that, we are back. As a reminder, those products are on Amazon or on our stores, as you see here. Get yours today. And moving right along, as you see on this screen, the very next thing that occurred. Yes, look. I mean, look at the eyes there. So I'm going to actually fast forward and show you because there's something that's going to end up coming from this. And if we hear all the time, right? Oh, it's fake. It's fake. It's scripted. It's fake.
All right. Oh.
That is the result.
Okay.
And
Well, I mean,
look, as anyone, unfortunately, in the old school that has suffered the fate of usually poor choices that resulted in maybe not something ever to that extent, but at least one good one that would make you rethink how you were going to behave moving forward. I can say usually that type of stuff was not seen. You wouldn't see that right away. Right? Like it's the next day, right? That's where bruising and that type of thing occurs. To see those kind of like welts forming, like this is going to end up like looking horrendous over the next, week or so. And to me, it takes out, I mean, like there's a wall kind of being broken here. This was not like that would. The whips were real, but they were arguably too real. I don't know, like, where are we going? So, where I'm torn with all of this as well is, of course, there was Seth Rollins, right? Like, and are we heading towards some kind of either triple threat with them or potentially, at the very least, as it pertains to Bash at Berlin? Do you think we see kind of like some kind of like what would we call that, a whipping match, or because that's some serious stuff. What say you to this?
I'm not sure if this is headed towards a triple threat, but I do think that Seth Rollins could possibly interfere because I don't think that his business is done with either of them. So I think that him interfering would just like make everything just like better than what it already is. So as far as CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, and with all this happening, I think that with the whipping and whatnot and the picture that was just shown, I think that the rivalry between them is definitely more personal since, we've heard all the time that it's scripted and it's fake, but that obviously is a fake. So I think that just him, like CM Punk probably going off script, you could say, I think that it could make the rivalry better. And I think that it just amps it up a bit more. So,
absolutely, and again, they've done a fantastic job of kind of keeping me on my toes because I thought it was going to be kind of, the straight and narrow between Punk and Drew, and Seth was more of a curveball for me that I wasn't necessarily expecting. But to your point, absolutely, now he becomes somewhat of the third wheel that CM Punk was at a point in time. And so, because I mean, how far back does this go now between the three of them? Oh, wait a minute. At the very earliest, it would be the pay-per-view in Scotland. And so, but again, there was already history before that. So I'm thoroughly enjoying this, simply put, because it's not getting stale for me.
right.
And honestly, with the looks of that, they keep raising the bar a little bit, and I'm here for it. Speaking of starting to raise the bar, so unfortunately for the Miz, he was defeated by Big Bronson Reed, and Reed was going to attempt to hit the tsunami on him. R-Truth unfortunately tries to intervene, and of course, then becomes the victim of it.
Right.
Is it time to start putting him, or should we start looking at Bronson Reed in terms of getting over? And if so, where?
In terms of getting over, I think that it would be cool to see. I'm not sure where, but just as far as him getting over, I think that would be a cool thing for him. Especially like now with him and the Miz and R-Truth, just to see everything that he's capable of. I think that him getting somewhat of a push, I think would be pretty cool to see.
Yeah. I was hoping you'd be able to help. Gully has struggled with this as well as to the where. Again, this is one of those where creative has too many creative options to choose from. Unfortunately, that's the benefit. And I want to get your thoughts on this too, because now we're going to see SmackDown on USA. We're going to see Raw move to Netflix. How do you view that transition, and how does it now that the show would go from 3 hours to 2? I just brought up all this extra talent. How do you work with that still?
I think that it might. I'm not sure if it's the best decision, especially because since Raw being 3 hours, I think that we got to see all the talent and with certain superstars and all like certain rivalries, and people leading up to certain rivalries, just things like that. We were able to see a lot in just 3 hours for a show is pretty lengthy, but since there's only so much time on Raw, I think we got to see a good amount of what could be. So for Raw to go to 2 hours, I'm sure they'll figure out a way to work around it, but I'm not sure if we're going to see as much as we used to.
Yeah, and that's going to be the interesting part for me. I wanted to get your thoughts too. We brought up Shane McMahon's meeting with Tony Khan. Any thoughts? Basically, what we could confirm was not only that the meeting actually happened. Even Bully Ray kind of said they weren't there just by accident. But we could confirm that Vince at least made $1.5 billion from some of the sale of the company. Again, Forbes valuation put them at $2 billion for AEW. I made the suggestion that they would go for likely equal partnership or slight majority ownership, which means he wouldn't go broke necessarily. He would still have $500 million to kind of live his life with.
Right.
If that were the case, what a nice thing to have. Just lying around.
Right.
What say you? Was that first? How much do you buy on that? And second, would it be good in any capacity?
Well, I think it could be a good thing if it's kind of like an equal partnership thing, as opposed to just like somebody getting the upper hand. I think it's good that it's an equal partnership thing, or it could be at least. So I think all in all, it could work out, especially since you mentioned the 500 million that both sides could be left with. I think that it will work out better if it was just not someone being on top of the other. So I think it will work out better if it was equal.
Absolutely. And again, I look at it like a kind of it's like a reverse of what we saw kind of from the Attitude Era. And I just think it almost sounds like something out of a a movie where
Mm-hmm.
you have to kill the thing that you created. I mean,
Right.
at least from a business sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, a complete reversal from what his intent was with WCW so many years ago. That would be, and I joked it would make Thanksgiving certainly even more interesting.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Right.
uh, Now, coincidentally, we brought up Bronson Reed, and that led into our main event. And this was where, strangely, all of the people that have been named in, since our last break, they have had some kind of feud ripple effect with all of these guys, which of course Bronson Reed was the third wheel with Sami Zayn. And however, he had a best of 3 with Sami Zayn this evening, and Braun Breaker retains. What say you to that? And now what do you do with Sami Zayn now that he's lost twice?
The fact that he's lost twice makes me wonder what's in store for him now. Um, Mostly because he was champion for quite some time. So, and he was at that he was very good. So for him to lose twice, I don't know where he's headed as of now. Um, but I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing that Braun Breaker is now champion, since we all know what he was capable of, and we all knew he had most certainly had the potential to be champion. So, as for the other two, them losing, I don't know what's in store for them. But as far as Braun Breaker goes, him being champion could he could work his way up to being at the very top of the company, if that makes sense.
Do you see any kind of feud between Yeet, who set this all up, and Sami Zayn?
I think that there there could be a feud, because even though he did set the whole thing up or whatnot, we do remember a while ago that Sammy was involved with the bloodline, and him and Jay got along. Actually, they did get along, but after, of course, Sammy betrayed Roman, that the whole bloodline after that just went downhill. So, and we all seen that Jay, didn't take that very lightly. So, um, I think that there definitely could be a few, since we have seen that kind of sort of like in the past.
Absolutely. And I want to gain, since I have you, I'm going to ask. We've seen the babyface assassins of the 2.0 bloodline, and now, of course, Roman has returned. Where's the next domino with these groups of, and how do we get ultimately to what I've theorized, which is Solo being kind of the puppet, or the puppet master being the final boss? That was my kind of theory. I want to see first, do you agree with that? And then if so, how do we end up getting there, say, by Mania?
I'm not sure if I agree with it or not, because I don't have the answer to that, because I personally didn't think that Roman was going to return at SummerSlam. I only think that because
Wow.
after his loss, I thought that him returning at SummerSlam would be too early. I thought that they would, with the bloodline, I thought that they would build it up more with Solo, and especially we've all seen Solo say before to Paul Heyman that Roman wasn't coming back. So I think that I think that I thought they would build more suspense instead of just having him return. So as of where they're going now, I have no clue, because I never thought that he would return. So I'm not sure what's in store for them moving forward.
how much look, Gully has been very critical of the 2.0 group.
Mm-hmm.
He views them as inferior. Do you agree on that? And then I want to get your thoughts. I'll ask you the follow-up question to
that. Them being inferior, I think I agree. I think so. Like I said, with Solo trying to claim himself with being the new tribal chief or whatever, we all know it's never gonna be the same. So I mean, just them trying to be the new bloodline, if you would say. We all know that it could work maybe, but I mean, just as far as the OG bloodline, we all know that that's what everybody really wants and what everybody really wants to see, instead of just claiming to be the tribal chief and whatnot and just trying to form a new group or whatever. So yeah, we all know who everybody really wants. That's Roman and the OG group. So that's what I think.
Absolutely. And with that being said, I'm going to take our final break of the evening, and then I'm going to get your thoughts on a title run, or maybe a terrible case of the runs, along with our rapid fire segment. Stay tuned.
Jay Cunningham, and you watching the Shop Report. I'm Homie Diallo, and you watching the Shop Report. My name's Chris Murray, and you're watching the Shop Report. Oh, you're Jay Knight, you're watching the Shop Report. Max McKee, you're dropping in on the Shop Report.
Barbershop Jay, Quentin Hines, Super Bowl champion. I'm ready. Let's do it. I'm on.
Hi, I'm Mars Edwards from Mercury Stadium, and you're watching the Shock Report.
Hey, I'm Billy Butler, and thank you for watching the Shop Report. Hey guys, I'm Les Norman, former Kansas City Royal, and you're watching the Shop Report.
Commander Brown, Detroit Rivers Mountain Training, and I'm watching the Shop Report.
Hey, this is Doug Flynn of the New York Mets. Well, a few other teams, of course, too. And you're watching the Shop Report.
I'm Matt Ramos, and you're watching the Shop Report.
How you doing? I'm Rajay Davis, and you're watching the Shop Report.
How you doing? This is Nelson Figueroa, former Major League pitcher with a lot of teams. You're about to listen to the Shop Report. Hey, this is Howard Johnson. You're watching the Shop Report.
All right, and just like that, we have returned back and better than ever for the final time this evening. We have, of course, my question to you, which is, because we just talked about Solo and the OG bloodline and, say, the tribal chief's title reign versus the guy that he lost it to. Where I threw this out there briefly, and Gully avoided it because I think he knew what we all might have known. Where does Cody Rhodes' title run rank as in the worst of all time?
You know what? I've actually never heard anybody speak of his title reign that way. I really have not, because from what I've heard and seen, everybody loves Cody Rhodes and everybody loves his title reign as of what he's doing now. So personally, I don't think I have an answer to that question because I've never heard anybody categorize his title run like that. So, and especially because I'm a fan of Cody Rhodes myself, so I wouldn't know where to put that as far as his title run being the worst. But I personally, I don't think it's the worst. I mean, since his build, ever since him returning his build up or whatnot, and as far as him finishing the story, I loved all of it. I really liked it. So, like I said, I don't have an answer because I figured as much, just like me, like everyone loved Cody Rhodes and, his title run. So,
Now, wait a minute. Now, I want to make one thing clear. I am a fan of Cody Rhodes. And again, I, of course, am on record. I went to school with Brandy and Jason. And, of course, that's wife and brother-in-law. And so I am a little biased in that respect, but the point
Right.
that you made, which is we all love the story and how he became champion,
Right.
not what he did with it. And that to me is the problem. What I pointed out to Gully was that he could have arguably been that same reign, if you will, and duration could have literally been Solo Sikoa. And because it was that underwhelming with who he's gone against what AJ Styles, who he'd already gone up against, right? So sell me then, if we were to shoot on this being a good title run, post mania, not that build up to get it. That chapter technically has closed. So
Right.
now just him as champion, where 3 of his first 5 matches were against Tozawa or someone along those lines. In the UK, you sell me if we're going to shoot on that, on why it was a good one.
Well, now that I hear it from a different perspective, I'm thinking now that with Cody being champion, I think that there could be a lot more. And not that he's not a good wrestler, where his potential is. We all know what he's capable of. So we all know that he's an incredible wrestler. He's champion material. But as far as where he's at now, I think that there could be a lot more, since we all know how good he is. And we all love him and his babyface character or whatnot. So I think that there's a lot more to tap into instead of just where he's at now.
And that's what's going to be really interesting about this, because now that as you pointed out, I was with you. I didn't think Roman was going to return at SummerSlam either. However, this run has been so underwhelming I told Gully at one point that make the mid cards great again, and meaning the champions, and the mid card has been fantastic. I joke that the mid card has been running wild all over us. And the unfortunate side to that is we got to PLEs that from Gully's point of view, your main event is supposed to be your Universal Championship. And unfortunately, it wasn't on more than one occasion, which kind of was leading right into what I was suggesting, and it came at the demise of what I was wanting to occur, which is to have those mid-card titles kind of be viewed as equals. Almost I related it to, UFC and boxing, that just because they're a different weight class doesn't mean that championship is worth any less. It's just,
Right.
From just that perspective alone. And so with what Cody's done or hasn't done, it part of me, after hearing your perspective on it, now I feel like, I was calling it an American Nightmare or a American Nightmare, with him supposed to, of course, a play on words, with him being the American Nightmare, that this run was an American Nightmare. But does he need someone like Roman to bring out kind of that heel in him, which is the American Nightmare, in order to get it back and to turn this back into a dream?
With someone like Roman, I think that would be a really good thing for him to bring out, like maybe his heel side or whatnot. I think we could definitely see a lot more of that side from him, with him working with Roman, especially because we know the heel character that Roman plays, and we know how good he is at it. So I think him working with Roman, I think that the more they work together, as opposed to them already working together in the past, I think we could see where it goes with Cody as far as being a heel.
Absolutely. And so what we're going to do now is what's known as our rapid fire segment to close out the evening. And so what we have first is so you're aware of this, because you're going to be like, man, I haven't seen this on any other show, because you're right. And that's why Gully isn't here, because he wasn't ready for this. So, no, I'm joking. That, there were other obligations. But what we're going to have you do is I'm going to show you a few matches, and we're going to get who you got and why, and then we move on to the next. And so the first announced for Bash in Berlin, this mixed tag team. Who you got and why?
Well, I think I have Rhea and Damian Priest for this one, because not that Liv and Dom aren't any good as the new Judgment Day or whatnot, but I personally think that Rhea and Damian might take the win on this one, because since we've seen them try to work together just on their own, and with them together now, I think that it would be good for them to get the win, especially since Rhea lost at SummerSlam. And I think that with Liv's revenge tour thing, I think that this could be kind of Rhea's revenge thing or whatnot, just for her to get like her comeback and for us to see her again as the great heel that she was. And Damian Priest too, I think that it would be a good thing for them to work together and just for them to come out on top, I think would be really cool.
You bring up a few fantastic points, and I think you're absolutely right. For the sake of the story, right? A rivalry is only really a rivalry if both sides at least win a little bit. And so,
Right.
As you pointed out, but you brought up something else that I've kind of lost track of, and that is Liv's revenge tour. Has that tour been postponed?
To me, I think it might have ended, because now that Liv has gotten Dom and she's, taken away quite literally everything that Rhea had, I think that Liv is now satisfied with everything that she has, and I think that she's gonna try and, stay on top and just continue to take away from Rhea moving forward. So.
No, fantastic points. And announced for next week's Raw. We're going to tackle these one at a time. And the first, of course, is a women's tag team championship triple threat match between Damage Control, Alba Fire, and Isla Dawn. And, of course, the orange juice. Who you got and why?
For me, I think I have Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. And I say that because we've seen what Damage Control has done, and I feel like we've seen everything that we've needed to see. Not that that's a bad thing, but I think that with I think they're called the Unholy Union. I think with them, we could see where they could go in the future and how good they are as champions. And as far as this whole orange juice whole faction or whatever they are, like I said earlier, I think that as a team that they're pretty good, but I'm not sure if they're ready to be up there yet, if that makes any sense.
Not with that name. And speaking of terrible names, it leads into the next one. Butch versus Sheamus. And again, he gets really upset if you call him Butch. So he's, as he had said earlier in Raw, for those that had seen. So it is Pete Dunne versus Sheamus. And it's been kind of a weird thing with them. So who you got and why?
I think I have Pete Dunne on this one. And I say that because now that his name, this might sound silly, but his name has been changed back. So we've seen who he was as Pete Dunne before in NXT. I think NXT UK and NXT, we've seen who he was with, that name. So, and we've seen what he was capable of and what he was able to do and how good of a character he was. So I think that now that they're letting him be himself and tapping into that character again, I think that Pete Dunne could come out on top.
Wow. Yeah, no arguments here. And lastly, the New Day and Odyssey Jones versus the Final Testament. Who you got and why?
For this one, I don't know, but I think I might have to go with The New Day and Odyssey Jones. And I say that because we've seen earlier that they were trying to place Odyssey Jones into The New Day or whatnot. And I think that it would be cool to see what he's able to do with them. And I think that it would be cool to see kind of like a New Day or whatnot and to see what they can accomplish.
Wow. And so lastly here, sorry, Braun Breaker, we're gonna have to strip that title and give it to Yaz here for absolutely crushing that, not just that subject, but this entire episode here of the show. As always, the invites will always go out on Monday nights for you. And we can't thank you enough for being available on a whim in this case.
Right.
But naturally, we want you to stay involved. Obviously, the viewers do as well. And so, any final thoughts from you before we conclude this evening's episode?
My final thoughts are our episode of Raw that we had. I really liked it. I think that it's good for us to see what is in store for everyone. And also with the Bash in Berlin, I think it's going to be a great pay-per-view. I'm excited for it with all the rivalries and everything. And I think some of my predictions might be right. So I'm just excited to watch it. So
I couldn't agree more, and I think some of your predictions are going to be right as well. And then every now and then I get lucky on one or two of mine myself. So without any further ado, I appreciate you for spending some time with us. Those for staying with us. I just looked. I said evening. It's morning. So again. If you really want to know what's going on, come to the shop. Of course, walk-ins are always welcome. Holla.